You literally think that you train for a week, or you train for a couple of days, or you had a good month with your football team, that you are good enough to make it professionally? No, and that's why literally 999 out of 1,000 people won't succeed at all. They will fail. What's up, Effective Fam? I wanted to do this video for a long time. I mean, for years. I wrote an article about it before, but now I'm going to do the whole video thing about it now. About how I got football trials in England, in Scotland, for the Australian under-20 national team, in Holland, in Switzerland, everywhere. I've had literally over 20 trials, and I've created them all myself, pretty much out of thin air. And I've tried everything. So I've tried scouts, I've tried agents, I've tried going through coaches, I tried going through technical directors. I've literally tried everything, and I done this for 7 years. So I feel like I got that kind of knowledge to teach you and just to give you my experience and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. If you've ever thought about, how to get a trial, where do I start, you probably think of these three things. So you got the manager, you got the scouts, and you probably also think about an agent. And these are the three most, people that people think about when it comes to getting a trial. I need to impress an agent or a manager or a scout. But there is much more to that, and let me explain. What I'm going to explain now is the organizational structure, or we're going to just call it the pyramid. How football clubs work, how they operate, and how they go about signing new players, whether you are when you want to be a scholar, which gets 14, 15 years old into an academy team, or you are a professional or trying to break into professional first team football, which can be slightly different. So let's just get into it. So there are different ways you can go about it, but let's start with the manager. So the manager is responsible for obviously coaching the players, but also he is usually the one that initiates what players that he wants to bring in, who he wants to buy, who he wants to loan, and who he wants to release. That is a manager's role. Now, he can go to a scout and say to the scout, look, scout, I'm looking for a striker, a midfielder, and a defender. I'm looking for 3 players to sign this summer. Could you please scout me 3 players that I can look at and potentially sign? So the scout, which could be, if you're a big club like, say, a Manchester United, there will be scouts looking in literally every league in the world, but most especially the top 5 European leagues. And there will be a scout or a group of scouts that will be, looking at players, looking at what they can do, and will either work solely to scout those players, or be working in tandem with the manager to say, giving the manager reports and saying, hey, we got this center midfielder. He's 19 years old and he scored 20 goals in the French league. So he can go to the manager and think, right, here are a couple players. Please take a look at their videos, and this is my technical scouting report of these players. And the manager might be like, yeah, no, or he might come back to the scout and be like, nah, find me more players, mate. So that's what can happen. Now, we'll get to agents in a moment, but let me explain how you as a player can now get in touch with a manager or a scout, because in this day and age, it is much more accessible. Let's start with how you can get in contact with a manager. You can impress a manager through a scout. Obviously, the best way is trying to impress a manager directly, but you got the manager, and let me do this now, other players in the team. The manager also will have former colleagues The manager will also have assistant coaches. The manager will, his close circle of people will be the coaches, the scouts, players, and former colleagues. So these are usually the best ways to get in touch with a manager. Scouts in this day and age are usually present in 4 ways. So scouts will usually be looking at different types of football academies. Scouts will be looking at football academies, seeing what kind of players are playing the best type of academy football. They'll be looking at local matches. Maybe they heard somewhere that some player 13 years old scored 30 goals in a regional season, and so a scout heard about that. Now he's going to go look at that guy's match. Obviously open trials is another one. There are a lot of companies doing this now with open trials. And then finally camps, and this is kind of like a yes or a no, kind of maybe kind of thing. But if you go to a decent camp, especially a talent identification camp, then there will be scouts watching, or possibly even the manager himself. So this is usually the 4 ways a scout will be looking for players. And again, it depends on the relationship between scout, manager. It could be the assistant coach doing the scouting for the manager, and then the assistant coach or even the manager himself is going to camps, these open trials, matches, football academies. It's all relative. It all depends on the context. It all depends on, if it's a junior club, amateur club. Obviously, the first team manager is usually, if it's a very high professional level, he's usually not going to open trials. It's not like you'll see Arsene Wenger or Jose Mourinho to open trials, but he may be looking at, matches, a 20-year-old player that he's really interested in. So that's one. A typical scenario which will happen is a scout will be present at a match. Okay, he'll be present at a local match. He sees that you do really well, so that scout may then go to the manager and say, "Hey, look, we got this really good 15-year-old kid. He's in the match that I saw him in. He's pacey, he's quick. He could be the next Marcus Rashford. Jose, can you please take a look at him?" All right. So the scout has referred him to the manager. Manager says, "Okay, let's take him in on a 1-week trial during preseason. And let's call the kid Billy." Billy goes on a 1-week trial. The manager thinks he's a really good player. And this is what happens next. So the manager says, "We want this kid. His name is..." Oh man, this is such a bad drawing. Oops. But this kid is Billy. Billy's really good. We want Billy. He's good with his feet. He scores a lot of goals. Jose says, "We want Billy. This is Billy." So manager goes to the sports director, or he could go to the president, or he could go to the head of academy if he's a younger player. It depends. The sports director can be called a technical director or director of football, or some generic term along those lines. Maybe it can be the president, head of academy, who knows. But it will be usually more senior person, but making sure that Billy can be accepted in the academy, that say it's in line with what the technical director wants or what the sports director wants or whatever. Usually, the manager will usually be the guy that will make kind of like the request that we want to sign him. But in the end, these guys still have to tick it off. So the manager might want to sign Billy, but the sports director or the president, the head of academy, they say, "Well, I don't know if we actually want him. We just signed another striker, or we have another striker. He scored 20 goals last season. And Billy scored 30 goals last season, but is it really worth letting go of the other striker or having competition of places with the other striker?" And these are things that the manager and the president, sports director and stuff will discuss. And you never know, negotiations, right? Because the manager really has to believe in you to go to these guys and say, "Look, we really want Billy. You need to offer him this much amount of money, etc., etc., etc." So it can still break down here, even if the manager says yes. The guy with the most amount of power, obviously, though, is... All right? And these guys all report to him, but it's going to be the owner or the owners. The owners, in the end, have all the power. If he really wants to bring someone, I believe there was a story a long time ago. It was with Chelsea, and there was a lot of conflict with Mourinho and the owner Abramovich, because Abramovich, apparently this is a story, he brought in Andrei Shevchenko. Shevchenko back in 2007, 2006, 2005 was a real gun, one of the best players in the world, one of the best strikers, but and Chelsea paid a lot of money for him. Abramovich splashed out a lot of money bringing him over, but I don't think the manager really wanted him. So there was always this conflict of how to play him, whether or not to play him, and there was all this conflict. But that's why I'm saying owners always have most of the power. If you have a good relationship with the owner, then you can get in. So the manager, all these guys are in alignment. They say, yes, 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 we want Billy. But the owner can be like, well, no, Billy dated my daughter and he hurt her feelings. So Billy, we're not going to take you. And literally it can be simple as that. This is organizational structures, this hierarchy. There are a lot of politics in football with all these people involved, all these people which have different opinions. That goes down from camps to coaches to scouts to from other players in your team having opinions about you to manager to all these guys up the top that make decisions to the owner. The owner has most of the power. So agents will think of you as their gold. You are their gold, and if it's good gold, you'll only grow in value, and that's why they really believe in you, and that's where they think they'll make money out of you. So these are agents. I call agents sharks. Agents, sharks, because a lot of these agents are just trying to make money and they'll do anything to make a quick dollar, a quick buck from you. They're not usually interested in your long-term future. Honestly, they just want to make money. And that's not for all agents, but 90% of them at least. But what a good agent will do, okay? An agent's job is to promote you to the people he knows, the contacts. He will promote you to his contacts. So this is what agents do. They phone, email, or they do networking with everyone in this pyramid, okay? Good agents will know a lot of people in this pyramid. That's why a lot of agents are former players, maybe business, been in business for a long time, or they can be literally a car salesman who heard that you can make a lot of money if you're the agent of, say, Cristiano Ronaldo. So they're trying to look for Cristiano Ronaldo, which is their gold, or let's say Billy here. They think they found the best player that they've ever seen. So they got Billy and they're going to promote Billy to everyone here. So let's not say he's a car salesman. Let's say he's a bit more credible. Let's say he's an agent that was a former player. So he knows a lot of people in the football world. He knows managers, scouts. It's his job now. Along with this is how he shows off his gold, through highlight videos, through full match videos, a cover letter, CV, and references. And this stuff here would take a whole nother video to try and explain, because I mean literally I can do a video about a highlight video, how to make a good one, full match video, how to write a cover letter, CV. Like this could all take 10-minute videos each in themselves. So I'll get to that another time. What an agent's job is to do is to promote you to, maybe he knows some assistant coaches that know the manager. Maybe he knows a couple of good scouts or friends that he played with that became scouts and know a lot of managers. Maybe the agent knows a manager himself, and maybe that agent has already referred number of good players to that manager. So the manager and that agent would have a good relationship. So the manager can be like, hey, who else could be the next Ronaldo? Do you have any future Ronaldos, mate? We're looking for 5 new players in new season. I'm looking for the next Ronaldo. Mr. Agent, do you have any Ronaldo types with you? Or the agent can know the president, okay? Or the sports director, or the head of academy, whatever. And then that head of academy, that sports director will then refer any players to the manager to make a decision whether they want to bring that player on trial or not. Or maybe he knows the owner. Maybe they have a good relationship with the owner, and the owner will be like, right, I don't care what the manager thinks, I just want to bring in this player. So their job is to promote you. So their job, if they're going to promote you, they need to have relationships with everyone in this pyramid. And maybe that agent will know people running camps, open trials, other players, and all that kind of stuff too. That's what an agent's job is to do. But in 99, let's not say 99 because that's going to really undermine an agent's role. But in 90% of cases, agents are full of crap. They actually don't know anyone. And a lot of this stuff that they're doing here, you can actually do yourself. But it takes time. And in this case, if you are doing it yourself, you become a juggler of tasks, a juggler of roles, a juggler of creating all this kind of stuff. But the reality for most players, actually, is that they have to do that themselves. Because unless you really, really trust that agent won't really do anything for you, and you'll waste a lot of time and possibly your money on an agent when you can go do this yourself. This is what I'm doing myself. Above all, guys, unless you are a very established top 5 European player that scored goals, that has, won Champions Leagues, that has won UEFA Cups or has won leagues and has just a very credible reputation, most players will have to go on a trial. Okay, you have to do a live audition where you have to showcase your skill. But here's the reason why most of you won't succeed, and it's very simple. Very, very simple. It's because you suck. You suck. You're not good enough. And most of you are in this freaking dream world that you think you're good enough, that you've been training for a week. What I have to say to those people, you are dreaming, man. You are freaking dreaming. Like, you literally think that you trained for a week, or you trained for a couple of days, or you had a good month with your football team, that you are good enough to make it professionally? No. And that's why literally 999 out of 1,000 people won't succeed at all. They will fail. And this game will freaking break you. And if you go to a trial and you're not prepared and you think you're better than everyone else, you will fail, man. Most of you will fail because you truly are not good. You don't know what the competition is like and how fierce it is, how truly, truly fierce it is. And this game will test you in every aspect of your mind, mentally, emotionally. And if you're not prepared, you will cry, you will fail, and you probably will give up. And that's especially a message to you, those of you abroad, especially in like the US or Canada or Australia, that want to go to Europe because you feel like, oh, there's more opportunity there and stuff. Let me tell you, man, most Americans, most Australians, most people that think, what, it gets easier in Europe, or there's more chances in Europe. There might be more opportunity in Europe, but do you know but the difference in society, difference in culture, difference in the importance of football and soccer over how it is in the other countries? It is ridiculous here. If you think you're good technically, watch till you see what the Dutch do, or what just any European does. They grow up with the ball, they sleep with the ball, they do everything with the ball, and they're better coached than you. So you really have to go in there with the mindset of, how will I be better than these players? Quite simply, and I think a lot of people are afraid of this word, you gotta work. You gotta work, bro. Like, if you think it's going to be a walk in the park, that you're going to have the best performance when you do your open trial, or that you forward your video to a scout or something, you got to know what good is. And good comes in from putting in the work. But too many of you are in this dream world that you think you'll make it because you had, a couple of good games, man. That's not going to happen. That ain't going to happen. You got to put in the work. Quite simply, if you're going into a trial knowing that you haven't prepared your best, that you probably don't fully believe in yourself because your talent and your skill is based on a false perception of the work you put in and all that kind of stuff, you're going to fail. If you're going to go to a trial opportunity like that, make sure in the mindset of, okay, I might not succeed, but I'm going to try my absolute best. I'm going to use this to get assessment. I'm going to use a trial, open trial, or a camp, or whatever it is, just to get feedback about where I'm at now and what I need to improve, what my strengths and weaknesses are, and what I really need to do to get to the next level. And you can get that feedback from the higher level of players that you play with, or the coach, or say maybe there's scouts watching. Whoever you can get feedback from at that higher level, that will come in handy for you. Quite simply, you will be embarrassed if you haven't been training, if you're not at 110% of your game. So make sure you put in the work. And that's why I always preach effective, because Train Effective is everything that I wanted when I was going through trial periods in the past, etc. And trial periods now, I'm glad that I have Train Effective, because I know with Train Effective I can improve my technique, my mental ability, my understanding of tactics, my strength, my everything. And that's why if you are going to go into a trial, if you're thinking about getting a football trial, if you're thinking of getting a professional contract one day, the work starts, and doesn't start tomorrow, doesn't start next month, it starts today. Okay, you can start making a commitment today. You can start following a program today. You don't need much space. You don't need much equipment. What you do need is a certain work ethic, a certain mentality. And I promise, if you put in the work, you will get results. Who knows if that will be a professional level or not? That's why you got to test yourself in trials. That's why you got to find opportunities. And if they don't come to you, you have to make them. And that's what this video is about today, guys. I hope you got a lot of value out of it.